Hi, my name's Daniel and welcome back to our Raising Tech Healthy Human video series to help parents think about the way they set up their kids with technology. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to set your child up with a smartphone once the time is right. I need some props to start. When my son was about 9, he saw me chainsawing wood. I own land and I often chainsaw and split my own wood for firewood. And he looked curious, and so I said, "Do you want to go?" And he kind of tentatively said, "Yeah." So I showed him how to use it. I set him up with some safety equipment, gloves, helmet, earmuffs. I taught him that you always use the brake. Whenever you're using a chainsaw, you hold it so you never ever lose it. So I set up a log, gave him the chainsaw, and let it rip. But the librarian won't let me do it here. Here's the thing, the experience didn't encourage him like I thought it would. It actually terrified him. He couldn't control the bar and the chainsaw was too heavy for his small little arms. He got scared when the wood chips kind of came back at his face and his legs at a fast speed. And after one small cut, he kind of stopped and hasn't picked up a chainsaw for years since. And I realized at the time, dad error, that a chainsaw is an adult device built for adult bodies and too young for a 9-year-old to use. But it isn't a bad analogy for how we should think about giving our children their first smartphone. Because phones, like a chainsaw, open our children up to the adult world. They're adult tools designed for the adult world. And like a chainsaw, you need to have a brake, you need to have safety equipment and measures in place to make sure our kids are safe when they start to use these tools. Okay, off with this ridiculous hat. Child psychologist Jordan Foster says the same thing. She says, never give a child a phone as is. All phones are designed for adults and engagement in the adult world, and this is not always a good thing for children. So let me give you 7 quick principles to help you think about how to give your child a smartphone in a healthy, sensible, graded way. The first one, as I've mentioned, is to go slow, which simply means just don't be an early adopter, don't be the early majority, maybe wait until others have done it and then think about when it's right for your child. The second principle is to pay for your child's phone. Now that may sound counterintuitive. So as a parent, I love teaching my kids to save for things and to delay gratification and to see the value in what they actually receive. But when it comes to their first phone, I would suggest buying it for your children, because it's important for your children to know that the use of this device is a privilege, it's not a right. And that if it's used in an unhealthy way, out of the boundaries that we set, well then we can take it back. It's much harder to suggest that you might take back a phone for a period of time if a child saved for it themselves. So it gives you more leverage. The third principle is to start with a digital contract. Now, a digital contract is a bit like an ICT agreement at school, but it's simply a way where you write down some of your expectations about how you think your child should use the phone that they receive. And it could be done for a tablet or a laptop as well, in order to get healthy boundaries and behaviours from the get-go. As part of subscribing to this free video series, I've included a number of digital contracts for phones and laptops and tablets. Feel free to modify these Word documents and use them with your own children. They're a great place to start a meaningful, rich conversation, not to be punitive, but to have a conversation about how using a phone might work and what it means to grade up into the adult world in a mature way. The next one is to use parental controls. Now, parental controls are inbuilt applications on the operating system of your child's phone or device. For example, Apple iOS or Android OS. They kind of dumb down the smartphone to put healthy boundaries in place so that the devices are less addictive. I use these for myself. They're also useful for your children. Here's 4 ways you can use parental controls to help create a better boundary around your kids' device use. Firstly, you can set screen time limits using parental controls. So for example, the internet doesn't kick on until about 7 o'clock in the morning and it turns off at 8 o'clock at night. You can set restrictions for yourself or your children. The second one is communication limits. So if you don't want your children texting their friends at 2 in the morning, well then limit when they can text or phone their friends or communicate with others. Content and privacy restrictions are also available, where you can set, for example, a PG or an M-rated age limit on content that comes through the phone. It's not perfect, but it does put some level of protection in place. And finally, ask to buy features, which I think are quite useful, where your child is not allowed to buy or purchase apps or remove apps without your permission. Again, this is just for when your child's learning to use the phone in a healthy way, and you'll need to reduce these restrictions as your child learns to regulate their own screen use themselves. Okay, so the fifth principle is to install internet filters, which are third-party programs that you purchase. And they're really designed to help stop access to pornography and other dark aspects of the web, to add an extra layer of security by putting these apps on your phone and protecting your phone, laptops and tablets at a device level. Again, if you've signed up to this video series, I've got some links to potential internet filter companies, although there are many out there and you should do your own research. The sixth principle is to establish healthy screen time limits. For example, no phones in bathrooms or bedrooms, which I'll talk about in another video, or to limit how much time your kids spend on games or social media. For example, starting off with no more than 20 minutes a day on social media, or maybe no more than 10 minutes a day on some type of online game. Again, you can reduce these restrictions as your children demonstrate self-regulation and the ability to experience life beyond a screen. The seventh principle, and really it could possibly be the first one, is to talk regularly. To talk about technology, to find out how your children are managing it. Are they being bullied? Do they know how to communicate online? How do they feel that social media is working for them? Are they happy with the way in which they're using their screens? Open and honest communication is the foundation for all of this, rather than being too restrictive and punitive or too relaxed without any boundaries. Thanks, librarian. Look, one day my son will be old enough to chop firewood with me, and the chainsaw's a fantastic tool. But in the meantime, we're going to hold back until he can be old enough to use it in safety. Good luck in setting your child up with their first phone, and I hope you can set it up so your child is set up for success. So here's a question to think about or discuss in your groups. What stands out to you as being helpful from this video? And what is one strategy of my 7 that you can implement to ensure that your child has a safer experience when they get their first phone or tablet or computer? And hey, if you like this video and you want to see the rest of these, I'd like you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and sign up at raisinghumans.au/parents. You'll receive a handful of videos for free, as well as digital contracts, advice about internet filters, and a whole lot of other infographics and resources to help you raise tech-healthy humans.